Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, Redesigning Normal. My name is Andrew Southern, and today I'm joined by my guest, Kristen Beitzel, who's the VP of Medical Services at East Bay SPCA. Kristen, thank you for joining us.
Of course, no problem.
I wanted to start out and just ask if you could explain for our audience a little bit about what East Bay does and also about your role there, and maybe how you got into that role.
Yeah, so the East Bay SPCA is here to serve the Alameda and Contra Costa counties as a whole. So we partner with municipal partners directly as well as work directly with the community. So as an organization, we provide medical services to the public through our full service veterinary clinic as well as 2 spay-neuter veterinary clinics. So it looks at high volume that does anywhere from like 25 to 32 spay-neuters a day. Then we have, of course, our shelter and adoption centers. We have Humane education, so they are educators that work specifically with youth in the community to develop that animal welfare and respect bond early that they can share with their families and grow with. We have Humane advocacy that works with those underserved in the community, such as if they need additional support, whether that be financially to take care of their animals. We have pet food pantries that they come through. We also partner with other social workers to make sure that everyone's taken care of as a whole. A large volunteer base that we couldn't do anything that we do without them. We have about 400 active volunteers at the moment. And then, of course, our behavior and training team. They work internally with our animals to help prepare them for adoption, as well as help them through the veterinary process where they may be nervous through, as well as work with those in the community. So we do private one-on-one trainings as well as group trainings. So that's the nutshell.
Wow, thank you very much. How did you get to your role in the organization?
Yeah, so I started in vet med kind of in the bottom right out of high school in 2005 as a receptionist, kennel tech, and I started in private practice and then did the vet assistant role and was doing the pre-vet route. Decided I liked the business side a little more than my undergrad classes. So then transitioned, and I've done private practice, corporate practice, and then this role came available at the East Bay SPCA, and I was really intrigued about the nonprofit model and was looking for a bigger purpose of making an impact. So that's how I came to be here about 2.5 years ago.
Wow, okay. And I guess it's probably a good time to explain to everybody how the organization is funded. Is that all donations, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we do have a development team. So we have fundraisers, we have amazing regular donors, bequests, so people who pass away have put us in their will, other corporates, partners like grants. So we're really thankful this last year PetSmart gave our Humane advocacy program $100,000 for veterinary care for underserved populations. So we're able to make that connection where hopefully we can have individuals come in to get the veterinary care that they need, such as like major surgery, wellness care that they wouldn't be able to afford, so they don't have to pay anything out of pocket, to make sure that we keep the pet with the family, because we don't want to separate them. That's our goal. But we also have services that are paid for by the community, but donations help us to subsidize those costs to keep them lower.
Okay.
So what we would see at our veterinary clinic, there are paid services, but they're much lower than what you would see at the general practices around the area.
Okay.
Same thing as our behavior and training classes, our humane education. Right now we have summer camps going, and we know summer camps can be expensive for kids to be here for a week, but we also have scholarships for those. So we try to reduce those barriers as much as we can with the donations that we're receiving.
Got it. Cool. All right, so let's go back in time a little bit, because this is a podcast about like reactions to COVID. Almost. When did you, if we go back to February or March of 2020, was there a point in time where you realized that this thing you were hearing about in the news was potentially going to affect East Bay and the work that you do there? Was there like a moment?
For sure. I know the official day off the top of my head was March 17th, 2020. We all just recognized that date as something major that was happening. One of the big things that happened specifically to the veterinary side that I can speak to is that the California Veterinary Medical Association established that wellness or non-urgent services were to be ceased. So that means our entire spay-neuter team, therefore, could not operate, period, until the CVMA released that, which happened in July.
Right.
So that's a big chunk of time that we weren't able to perform any of those wellness-type surgeries, which then slowed down our ability to get animals adopted as well. So we did make an executive decision that we would close to the public, but animals in our care that needed to be adopted for welfare reasons, because if they were declining in the shelter, or if we didn't have a foster spot available for them, plus maybe fosters weren't able to keep them for 4 or 5 months, we would alter them through our full service clinic, because for us, that was an urgent need. That wasn't just a wellness, because it's not something that could wait. For our humane education department, because schools had to stop, obviously they had to shut down what was going on. Our foster team responded so quickly that in less than 24 hours, this might be the wrong number, but I feel like it was almost 200 animals that they got out into foster homes. To empty out our shelter, we could safely protect our team from coming in. So it was a huge goal of ours as an organization that we refused to do any layoffs. We just wouldn't do it because our team is our biggest asset and we wanted to protect them. So we developed ways to make sure that they kept their health insurance. Hours were decreased, but they were doing trainings at home, sometimes those that can log into our phone system to handle calls. So we got real creative to make sure that our team as a whole was still employed and felt like they were making an impact, since that's really big for our team. They're here in nonprofit because they're passionate about what we do.
Well, that was something that I was going to say. Is nobody knew how long it was going to go on. So if you shut this down, but you don't know when it's going to open back up again. I've like being stuck in an elevator. It's not necessarily, it's fine, you're safe, you're in the elevator, but how long are you going to be in there? And that was like nobody knew. So if it went on for, you said until June or July before you could open back up again those services?
The spay-neuter spots were not until July. There were other pieces of the organization. Actually, our humane education manager worked really hard, and we were one of, I think, 4 in Alameda that were actually able to operate summer camps last year. So we went through the Alameda Department of Health to get clearance and regulations. So obviously we had to lower our numbers, change our program. Our behavior and training team did all their training virtually. So having a dog now, I'm sure you can imagine that it's just not the same with being in person, but clients did enjoy it. On March 17th, we all thought it was going to be 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it just kept rolling and rolling. We just kept adapting, and as a senior leadership team, kept a really nice pulse on it, and we're trying to make those adjustments as quickly as possible. We went completely curbside with medical services, and actually this week was the first week that we started allowing clients into our building.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a long process before we actually got there. So
That's like 14, 15 months. Not having any strangers walk into the building, right?
Which is weird. So we've had to check ourselves. We had to have a little bit of a meeting. It's okay, guys. Now we need to make sure what music we're listening to. Our conversations need to be like when you're not around clients. Not that we're being unprofessional, but
No, I get it.
Just
I get it,
a little
though.
more loose.
We're open to the public now. We have a public face again. I can see how that could be. You need to transition into that, maybe, right? Don't leave your lunch on your desk kind of thing anymore.
Exactly. And then it's interesting because 2 of our newest veterinary assistants were hired past COVID, so they've never actually worked as a veterinary assistant with clients in the building.
Right.
So they're like, it is a different flow. There's people in a room. We're actually doing treatments when clients are there with us.
Because you said it was all curbside before. If I came to you and I had an animal that needed attention, I would give you the animal. And you guys would take the animal and do your thing, and then I would come and pick up my dog, right?
Yeah.
Now it's probably more comfortable for some folks, especially those who are nervous about this, to accompany their pet into the facility.
Yeah.
So what was that like during the period of time when it was really just curbside medical drop-off and pickup? I would imagine that there's a subset of folks who are dropping off their pet and they're like, this is like adding to the stress because now they can't even go into the building with them.
Yeah, so multiple components of stress happened when it came to curbside. Initially, it was a much slower process. So unfortunately, it doesn't sound like a lot, but each doctor lost 2 appointments per day.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, when we're trying to get as many animals taken care of, especially with our clientele that don't have other options or other resources of where to go to, having to tell them no, I don't have space, it's mentally hard for the team because we want to help, but we also have to protect our team from burnout and emotional fatigue, compassion fatigue. So the stress of the team, that was really hard for them to support them through that. On March 17th, it was a decision from senior leadership. I am part of senior leadership, but I was vetoed out with the most sincerest way to say that is that I'm a high risk individual. We want to protect you. I think you should work from home. And again, we thought it was going to be 3 weeks. So then I'm like, okay, I understand. I'll go home for 3 weeks and I'll work from home. So for my team to go through that stressful transition period, and I'm doing everything by phone, I'm calling in, I'm texting, that was the stressful part. I have amazing managers, so they were there for them. But again, as we worked through the process, the stress started to decrease. We actually noticed that animals were less stressed coming in on their own because they weren't reading off of their owners.
Sure.
So many of them were much better to be handled, calmer. We were able to get more things done. It wasn't as common for us to ask the client for assistance because sometimes they're super nervous. Can you assist us in putting a muzzle on? Or we're going to give you medications to give in advance, give 1 to 2 hours before coming in to help relax them, and then we could move forward. Our entire team became fear-free certified. So we're big components on helping with that mental well-being of the animals when we're treating them. We don't want to treat them in a fearful or force them into a fearful state.
Sorry, what is that fear-free? What does that mean?
Fear-free certification is additional continued education that individuals take, and it's an 8-module program to become fear-free certified. So it's 8 hours of additional education. So it discusses body language, handling, ways to decrease stress, using pheromones, other things, and what's called PVPs, so pre-visit pharmaceuticals, different dosages to help ease in animal stress. The old way of vet med is like, this needs to get done, manhandling, we'll get it done. Okay. Now we absolutely won't do that. Okay. And we also, there's a shelter fear-free program that came out after the veterinary side. So 100% of our organization has gone through fear-free certification, whether that be vet side or shelter side. As well as behavior and training. There's another behavior and training side of it as well.
Is this like cat Xanax, basically?
Kind of.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah. That would make a lot of sense because then once they get to you, they're a little bit more chill, particularly if you curb and do whatever. That makes a lot of sense. I just had never heard it.
Yeah.
Now, what about on the adoption side? Let's say we're going through the summer and folks would, I remember there was almost like a run on dogs and cats. So what was that like? And then also they can't come into the facility or whatever.
Yeah, so we did matchmaking. So it was almost like two or three of our team members on shelter, they actually became full-time matchmakers. So they knew personalities, people were sending in applications. Yeah, it was like a dating site to get them matched together. They would schedule appointments, they'd come in. With the dogs, they were able to meet them in our play yard, and then they could decide at that time. Cats are a little different. So with cats, it was more like, we prepped you a go kit, here's your kitty in a carrier, go home with them. And it was very rare for us to have a return because the matching process was just, our team did an amazing job. I can't applaud them enough. But as you speak with the run of animals, it was insanity. People were home, they had time. So not only were they trying to get them from the shelter, from breeders, no one could keep up with it. And then that also impacted veterinary care because if anywhere was shut down or decreased appointments, like I said, we dropped 4 appointments a day. Right. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up quickly. And other places were having to drop appointments. People just can't get in for care, and it's still happening now.
Wow.
With appointment availability, it's just not there. I could honestly say for our full service clinic, we are completely booked until August.
Is it a facility problem or is it a doctor time problem?
It's doctor time, it's the limit of professionals in the community. So there aren't enough veterinarians, there aren't enough registered veterinary technicians, there aren't enough veterinary assistants. There's just not enough of us to meet the demand. Hire 4 doctors, I still would be booked out for a month.
That's amazing. But your facility is enough, you have enough like rooms to do these procedures in. You don't have the staff power at the moment to meet the demand.
And it isn't a lack for trying to hire.
Got it.
It's definitely not that. It's just they're not out there. The competition for veterinary professionals right now is ridiculous. Like you can go on any hiring website. Some places are like giving like a $25,000 to $50,000 signing bonus, and they still are like, we've been hiring for a year and still can't get anybody.
And that's private practice, I imagine.
Private practice, yeah.
And so if there's big dollars in private practice, is it even more difficult to East Bay, or is that a different calling, or like how does that work? Are you in competition with them?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. We definitely are in competition with private practice, with corporate practice, but it depends on what they're actually looking for. Some individuals are, I just want to do a wellness practice. Some people are like, I want to be in ER, I want to be in special. With us, it's specifically, we are serving a community. You're going to get a hodgepodge of cases, from wellness cases to a lot of the local ERs and GPs will actually refer their clients to us to get those surgeries and medical care that your client can't afford with them. And then they go right back to their GP after they're taken care of. And that's fine. That's what we're here to serve. So if a veterinarian is looking for a clinic where they're going to see a puppy from the first visit all the way to end of life and bond with a client over 20 years, we're not the right practice.
Okay.
So I think, especially during COVID, it allowed the opportunity for a lot of people to really think about what they want professionally.
Sure.
So then there has been that change of some of our veterinarians, 2 of our veterinarians left during COVID to seek other opportunities, that it's, okay, maybe this isn't my calling anymore, I'm going to try something else. Or childcare is a problem, I can't do this, I need to go part-time. We've seen an exodus of people leaving the Bay.
Sure.
Just because cost of living. So yeah, it's a huge mixed bag. We are competitive with our wages, so I don't want to say that nonprofit is not going to pay, because that wouldn't be realistic. So we're definitely competitive. We don't have what's called the pro-sal model. So sometimes with veterinary professionals, you'll see this more in corporate or private practice, you have a salary and then you earn production on top of that. So if you do a lot of surgeries or stuff, you're gonna earn a lot. For us, our goal is to get the cost for care as low as possible for the client. So it just doesn't make sense for us. So we do like a base salary. So we did see individuals from the private practice or corporate practice setting were applying during COVID, and I was talking to them. And once they came in for working interviews, saw what we were doing, and then I think the nervousness of COVID, as well as just a mental switch of, this is your base salary, this is what you're going to make. And their idea of, yes, that's the same as what I'm making now, but it's still wonky. What if things change? And it's the same, but it's just a change in mind shift.
Got it. Issue. By the way, with other folks that I speak with, and I think this is well known, there's like hiring issues across all kinds of industries at the moment. I spoke to people that have restaurants and people that are in hotels, and everybody's got a similar problem of attracting and finding folks. And I don't know if it's probably a mixture of people that left certain markets, like they left the Bay Area and they're no longer there. There's not as many people that want more time off, or they want more flexibility, or whatever it is. There's a new calculation that's getting itself figured out at the moment. About current status now, we're in mid-June. What is the status of like adoptions? If I come right now to your facility and I'm looking to adopt, can I go in now, and do I have to make an appointment? Like, how does that work?
So we are, as of right now, today, June 18th, we are still doing matchmaking. With shelter leadership and senior leadership, we are creating a change where we looking at how we open to the public, how people can come in and walk around, quote unquote, the old days, but still control how many people are coming in and out. So doing that probably appointment based.
Yep.
And then do that matchmaking in person. Like, before it was look around, what do you see? Oh, I like this dog. Okay, let's talk about your lifestyle a little bit. But not, we still had like an adoption application, but it was removing as many boundaries as possible. I think we've learned over the last year that if we match make, our rate of returns due to them not being the right fit for their family have dramatically decreased. So we like that.
Right.
Knowing the animal's personality, then let's take a look into what are you actually looking for, not just, oh, this one's really cute on.
So like your form used to be geared towards, let's have the barrier pretty low.
Yeah.
To get people in here to adopt an animal, because we've got lots of animals and they all need loving homes. Now, a change that you guys made was you asked more selective questions just to make the matchmaking more efficient. Is that something that you think that you'll continue into the future? That form will get a bit longer because it's actually helpful.
I think the matchmaking more in person, the more communication, like in-person communication,
Okay.
I don't think our form is going to get longer. I think it's more lifestyle-based questions.
Sure.
So what are you looking for? Are you a runner? Do you like to hang out and binge watch Netflix? Or is there a certain color you like, a size you like? More along those questions.
Yeah.
Because before, I mean, it was, what's your name? What's your birthday? So we can get in our system. Address. Are you, like, do you have the ability to take care of an animal? Do you feel supported to take care of an animal? Does anyone else in your household have objections to you having an animal?
Right.
And then it's, you're ready for an animal, and then our policy won't change at any time to be like, if you need to return this animal that's adopted from us, at any time, for any reason, you can bring them back. We will take them in, no questions asked, refuse them. We do ask questions into their lifestyle so that we can then help, it will help fast track an adoption to someone else to be like, oh yeah, this dog runs all the time, is a little nervous around other dogs, lives with a cat, sleeps in bed with my toddler. We'd ask those kind of questions, but not the more personal side.
I'd imagine if it doesn't work out, people might feel a little guilty anyway. So the idea that they can adopt a dog with every intention of having it be in their forever home and it doesn't work out, it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable taking the dog in the first place. Because if it doesn't work out, it's okay. And we can find another home. I think that makes sense. I've never adopted a dog like that. As I said earlier, before we started recording, during COVID, my family fostered a dog, which has now become our dog. So it was just a straight, like, here's a dog for you. And then we had the dog in our house. And then at some point, months later, I was like, I guess this is our dog now.
Yeah, something we were recommending actually during COVID, since we had so many people wanting to foster and it was amazing, that actually was the quickest way to actually have them adopt. So we have what's called a Trello board that has all the animals that are open to foster, their pictures, as well as kind of details about them if they have like special needs. So we have behavior specific fosters or medical fosters, or like they don't have any medical or behavior issues. They just need to de-stress somewhere, or they're just waiting for their spay-neuter appointment. So it'd be just nice for them to be in a home relaxing instead of being in the shelter. But we give our fosters first choice to adopt.
Okay.
So that was the quickest way for people to adopt, was become fosters and then being like, oh, I'll take this one. And then it was almost like a trial to see if it was the right fit for their family. And if it was, then it's, yep, we're ready to adopt. And then, okay, we're just waiting for your spay-neuter appointment. Bring them in, we'll spay-neuter them, and then we'll finish the adoption paperwork, and you're good to go. So that was one of the quickest ways during COVID to get your choice and
Got it.
a new pet.
All right, so then I guess the other thing that I have asked everyone else in these interviews, is about like how someone getting blasted with it, how you've affected your facilities. Did you do temperature screening? Did you do air during, and then also nowadays, is that something that you guys bothered to do, or because you were no longer front facing with customers, didn't do that?
So we had in the beginning, it was a big discussion of senior leadership, what would be appropriate from the bandwidth of the team, as well as realistic, what would be able to be. What we did is we asked all our team members just to self-screen. Are you coughing? Do you have a fever? And then we actually created little kits for everybody, and everybody got a little COVID pre-kit. So we bought everyone a thermometer. We got them some goodies. We got East Bay SPCA face masks. So we made them a little kit, and then we just asked them all just to be responsible because of COVID pay. Everyone was completely honest. We were on top of, did you potentially get exposed? Let me know if you potentially got exposed. It's not going to affect your pay. You're going to get paid. We just need to know. We need to protect the team. And again, because everyone is so mission vision driven, we did communicate with everyone that if we end up with a COVID case, if we have to shut down, those are animals and people that have nowhere else to go. So we just ask you to be responsible. So although we are still dealing with a pandemic, I can knock on wood and say that we did not have a single COVID positive case for our entire organization of 80 plus individuals. So it's something we're really proud of our team for being honest and protecting themselves and making sure everyone was, so we never did require them to do temperature checks. We just asked them to do it on their own. Everyone was required to wear masks inside and outside. We did say no more riding in cars with each other, especially our own transportation cars. So we did limit that. We did limit one person per table in the break room. So we did things like that. Which we're still doing at this time. With Cal OSHA's changes and Governor Newsom's changes, that is also something that we're looking at. Okay, what do we do from here? We probably have, I'd say, about 89 to 95% of our team is vaccinated, fully vaccinated, but there are those individuals that aren't, as well as we don't know the public status that's coming in. And again, we work with individuals from the more economically challenged or from the unsheltered community, which we know have had more of the struggles to obtain vaccines. So we're just looking at it again as if we have to shut down for any reason. Those are animals and people that we can't care for that don't have other resources.
Ideally, I guess if everyone was on board, the entire 80 plus staff would just be vaccinated, because it would just be the way to maintain consistency, right? You wouldn't necessarily have to worry about that threat unless it was some breakthrough thing, which I know is statistically very slim. But people have their own thoughts on this, and so you can't really mandate that, or maybe you can. I don't know how it works in California, but I can understand that there's some sensitivities there. This is for business that I've spoken with, because that would be the best, is that everybody has this.
So I think the legals are a little murky when it comes to that. I think we've seen with the recent case of the nurses from the hospital, I think there was 200 nurses.
Houston or something, I think it was the Houston nurses, right?
Yeah, California, I think there's technicalities that, yes, a workplace can mandate vaccines, but from a cultural standpoint, as organization culture, that's not where we are. That's not what we want to do to our team members. So again, that was another discussion that we had, and we decided that we don't want to go there. We just don't want to go there. We want to remove the political out of it. We just want to be about protecting our team, protecting the community, providing services. So now that we're playing with that idea, so this week we did talk about, now that the mask mandate is lifted, Cal OSHA as of yesterday said that employees don't need to wear masks. What do we do? As of last week, the medical team was very adamant that if clients want to come to the building, they need to be masked. We're wearing a mask, period. Some other departments in our organization may be a little more lax. We also have our Humane Education department with their rules haven't changed, and we have kids here all the time. So if there's kids here, everyone needs to be masked, period. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and we're trying to communicate that, and people come from other departments into other departments, walking through, picking up things. All right, if you're in the admin department and you guys don't need to wear masks, if you come to the clinic, you better put your mask on before you come into the vet clinic. So we don't want to have mixed messages with everybody. So we're just trying to figure that out as best we can as we go. I'd like to say that's sort of like the right answer, but there isn't until we try it.
That's like sort of the theme. It's like in the beginning, March 11th, or March 17th rather, figuring it out and working through it, and then through the summer and through the winter, adjusting as you can and as the state is telling you to do. And even now, with the availability of vaccines and things are clearly opening. Like I went to a bar. I'm in New York right now, and I went to a bar with like maskless people. So that's happening, but that experience doesn't necessarily mean that you can have that same experience if you go to a medical clinic or to the SPCA, because that may still require that you wear a mask. And I think people understand that. There's going to be different businesses that are going to continue for a bit longer until you hit whatever certain metrics or certain numbers for vaccinated or for what is it, Costa County? Is that where you are?
We are in Alameda County.
Oh, Alameda. Okay, but they're next to each other, right?
Yeah, Contra, Costa, and Alameda touch.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem, but you go with it, I guess.
Yeah, and it definitely. I want to respect my team's comfort, and I don't want them to be upset or feel like I'm not taking their thoughts or feelings into consideration, because now that we have now that we have clients coming into the veterinary clinics, we're coming into exam rooms. So although they say that social distance isn't needed anymore, if there's enough people vaccinated, I think it's been drilled into our heads so much that it's like social distance. And now we're putting people, our team members and clients, that this is the first week that we've had them in the clinic, into a closed small room. And then the same week you want me to tell them, oh, nobody needs to wear a mask anymore. That's ripping the Band-Aid off far too quick for their comfort level and probably a little bit of mine. I really want to protect them. I want them to feel safe and comfortable. If they're nervous going into an exam room, communication is going to be hard with the client. The animals are going to pick up on that. We just need to play it a little. Just try to figure it out.
I get it. I get it. You had said that, I know you're on the sort of executive team along with some other people. So it sounds like you guys have done a good job of really navigating through this storm. If it's like a ship at sea, you're figuring out how to navigate through, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're in regular communication. Although there's 80-something people on our team, it still feels small and intimate. Like it doesn't matter what your role is. Everyone's on a first name basis. Yeah, we're really close to each other. Communication's not a problem. The senior leadership organization. So we try to respond as quickly as possible. That's actually one of our core values, is being able to quickly respond and responsibility to respond to changes in our community. When we created that statement, we had actually just dealt with a canine influenza breakout in the area. So that's where our mind went with it. Not exactly a pandemic, but it fits.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Wow. Kristen, I really want to thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been great chatting.
I want to use this as an opportunity to plug your organization as well, East Bay. For everybody that's listening, please look it up. Kristen, what's the website?
It's eastbayspca.org.
Okay, everybody should go to eastbayspca.org and donate some money to help out that community center and help out all those animals. Kristen, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.